Hello, YouTube. It is Friday, June 17th, 2022, 3:47 p.m. I'm getting a kind of a jump on the day. This is certainly earlier than I'm usually out and about. I had an okay show last night. I'm not going to say I had a great show last night because I don't feel I did. It definitely had some great moments. It did have one technical difficulty that I didn't figure out until way later than I should have figured it out, which actually was kind of I'm a little embarrassed about, to be honest. It's and I totally misjudged what the problem was as well. And by the time I figured it out, it was by the time the bar was actually slowing down, and it was, oh gosh, it was probably after 1 a.m. when I realized what the problem was. I'm like, oh, duh. But, so it sounded fairly okay, but I just noticed, where I really noticed distortion was in the peaks, basically in people's vocals. So it seemed like my mic sounded distorted, and I couldn't figure out why the hell did my mic sound distorted. The music sounds okay. Not great, not as good as it normally sounds, but it sounds okay. But the mics are definitely distorted. And I was thinking, the whole time I was thinking, God, my batteries must just be on the verge of death. But all the indicators were good. And at this point, I've only got two functioning mics. I've got the one Voco Pro that. For those not familiar with my microphones, I haven't talked about my microphones in a really long time. So I've got a set of 4 Voco Pro UHF mics. I forget what the model number is, but it uses the little modular Voco Pro receivers. If you know what those are, you know what those are. If you don't, they're modular microphone receivers, which is what they're called. They can be individually swapped out. They're like a little cartridge, two screws on each side, although they're kind of hard to come by. So anyway, there were 2 different versions. I think I want to say that the model voice in the back of my head is saying it's a UHF 5800. I don't know if that's right or not. I'm just I hear voices in my head, and one of them is saying it's a UHF 5800. So maybe it is. Anyway, the modules have numbers and letters that kind of indicate the frequency, and colors. They're also color coded. And there was a time I knew the 4 colors of mine by heart, and it's come to the point where I don't pay attention anymore. I used to have to pay attention to the colors because that would let me know, which singer had which mic, not so much which frequency there was. Anyway, I'm getting way too sidetracked on this. Basically, there's 4 microphones in the set. If memory serves, one of them just straight up doesn't work, and it hasn't worked for a long time. There's some kind of short in the battery. But I think before that happened, anyway, where I first discovered the problem I'm having with them, and at this point it's not even a problem, it's just kind of something I accept about them. I started working at the 44 Lounge right at actually on New Year's Eve 2019. So right at New Year's Eve 2020. So beginning of very, very beginning of 2021. And that was right around the time that T-Mobile rolled out their 5G phone system, mobile phone system. And also their high-speed internet service, but I digress. But that's when 5G, T-Mobile 5G went live in the Phoenix metro area. And now, granted, when that happened, it wasn't everywhere. It's pretty much everywhere in the Phoenix area now, but at that point in time, it really wasn't. But one place where it was, and it was very strong, was at the 44. They have a T-Mobile cell site literally behind the building. Like, I remember when the engineer, the main sound guy for the building, and that building had enough going on. It needed it needed a sound guy. What do you call it? He pointed out to me, as I was having problems with my mics when I hooked them up there, and I'm like, I've never had issues with these mics. They're kind of old, they're kind of beat up, but they're reliable. They always sound great. And then he was the one who suggested, well, you probably cross it on the new 5G frequencies. And I'm like, really? Because at that point I was working at the break room, and I was having no problems with them at the break room. Same mics. And one of the times we walked outside, I think, I'm going to say I walked out with him while he was smoking, and him and I were just talking, but I don't think he smoked. Anyway, I just remember at one point him and I walked outside, and he's like, yeah, that's the cell site right there. And like, I hadn't noticed it coming into the building, but if you're actually looking above the building, it like looms behind it, like it's an appendage to the building, even though it's behind it. So yeah, it was like really, really close. So yeah, of those 4 mics, 3 of them are on frequencies that are now used, and it's an older set, and apparently notice was sent out. In fact, I believe I was even warned about it by, of all people, Steve Lee before he died. Steve Lee over at Karaoke Now, and I'm just like, well, I'll worry about that when I said I probably got some mics on those frequencies, but I'll worry about it when I have to worry about it, which defeats the purpose of being forewarned about shit, right? Like, the purpose of being forewarned about shit is check your shit so you're not blindsided when it becomes an issue, which I was. Anyway, fast forward now, like a year and a half later, yeah, that's still an issue, but I've just kind of come to the conclusion, like in the time since, I ended up losing the gig at the break room, just due to poor turnout, which, whatever, it is what it is. No hard feelings against the break room at all. In fact, I could see me going back there potentially. I really do. Not anytime soon, just throwing that out there. I would imagine at this point T-Mobile 5G is going to interfere with those mics at that location too. I mean, it's my understanding that they, based on their advertising and other things I hear about it, that they've got that 5G everywhere now. But yeah, all right, pass on the ride, dude. You're cool. Anyway, what do you call it? So I expect them not to be usable there. It was not too long after I got the gig at the 44 and realized that microphone problem that I got the gig at Chase Cocktails, which I've been informed is not even open anymore, which is sad. That place has been there since like I want to say the 1960s. Kind of a legacy little dive bar, so it's sad to hear that that's closed. Anyway, and they still owed me for